do want us to spend a little bit of time talking about coping strategies and stuff like that.
Can I
Cool.
ask a question?
Yeah.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Question: what is it about childhood? Because I noticed you said at the beginning in terms of this time of the year and childhood traumas. What is it about this time of the year that gets people wondering, considering in their feelings about the past, and especially like childhood traumas?
It's sometimes okay, so we were hurt in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And so this time of year is of it's family, it's for families, it's supposed to be, as I said, warm and fuzzy and inviting. But because we were hurt, the people who we work with and we get to talk to a lot is the people who were hurt in that space. And so
Mm.
this time of year
Around
is
Christmas
also
time.
particularly triggering. Yeah.
Oh, they were maybe hurt around
Mm.
Christmas time.
Yeah. A
Okay,
lot, yes.
okay, okay, okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Hmm.
And also in the family that you've not seen all year, but they're coming to Christmas lunch.
Mm.
Hmm.
And and it's really difficult. I used to work in addictions years and years ago, and my colleague started an initiative at work where she started to serve lunch to we used to work in addictions, and lots of people who are lonely didn't have anybody, and she started serving Christmas lunch, and we were all upset with her because we're like, we're not going on a rota for work on Christmas Day. But she did that because it was a legitimate way to not be at home.
Oh, I see, I see.
Mm.
I see. She looked for an excuse to not be
If she
around.
was working, she didn't have to be there.
Oh dear. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Um, so yes, so I mean I've got a few things here, but I'm sure your list is far more encompassing than mine because I talk about the Christmas blues and I want
Mm,
to explore some of the things that cause those blues because we've spoken a little bit broadly about them that these sorts of things can be happening but what exactly if I'm not sure if I know I feel a bit of trepidation coming around Christmas, coming up to Christmas, and I know I'm going to experience the blues, but I might not be able to put my finger on what's going
mm,
on. What
mm-hmm.
sort of thing could it be? Like Charlie mentioned, it could be something from childhood. You said that it could be something that happened at Christmas in childhood. What else could be going on? What else? Could...
Loneliness
Yes.
and loneliness is big, and loneliness is damaging for our physical health and our mental health, and loneliness have many causes, but loneliness is a big one. Lots of people who live alone, um, some because the families are abroad or they have no family where they're living. Loneliness because I'm unmarried and it's the end of the year and I have nobody, there's nobody to talk to. Those kinds of loneliness through loss or bereavement.
Mm.
So those are some of the things that can cause the blues around this time.
But you know, sorry, I'm just trying to articulate the words that I want to say to come out because the weather doesn't help either.
Oh, I actually wrote that down. The
Is
sad,
it?
the
Yeah, yeah.
darkness.
Because
Yeah, yeah.
God, and I think it's like as soon as I can't remember what day it was. Was it like late October, beginning November, when you set in that realization that you get up in the morning in the darkness, you come home from work and you're in the darkness, and then so it's almost like that's the starting of the churning,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it's the build up to then
The
everybody
Christmas.
starts going into shopping mode and the
Yeah.
shops and the mince pies and the everything starts and all of a sudden you're hurtling towards this big event, and whether you celebrate Christmas into what it is or not
Yeah.
is the big event where everybody comes together or
Mm.
families, and and as you said in terms of you sense that loneliness because actually, well, my family aren't meeting, or I don't want to meet my family, or
Mm.
again I'm going to go to the event and I'm not going to have a partner, or last year I
Mm-hmm.
went to the event and I had my
Mm,
significant other with me and I lost
mm-hmm.
them throughout the year, or
Wow.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's that whole routine, the mindset, the everything that builds up to this, and it almost feels like, as I said, it started in October,
Yeah.
and it's just dragging and picking up momentum as you're hurling towards this time of the year.
Yeah, I did write that seasonal affective disorder because even my wife has it. My wife has it, and it's a very real thing. They don't get a real sense of what it is that's happening to them, but it happens because they wake up in the dark. They might go into a building all day and then they come out in the dark, and it's a real thing. But I see so much of the things that we've already mentioned, and they all point to Christmas. They all point to heading towards this one focused time that's really going to get. I wasn't saying to get us. That makes it sound like Christmas is out to get you. But it says, I've got here anxiety and stress, the pressure of planning, shopping, cooking, and social obligations. Actually, no. Before I even talk to you about that, Jonah, before I mention that to you, you talked about loneliness. I remember in the pandemic, the time of the pandemic, there was quite a few social activities and social schemes going on, like a buddy scheme. And they were saying that people are isolated. So what the people must do is assign themselves, if they work in a community, assign themselves to go and visit someone, a specific person at a specific address, either once a week or whatever it was. I can't remember how often it was, but just to go and knock on the door and say, I am there. And when I was watching this on the news, there were so many elderly people that were alone. And this wasn't Christmas, but it was about the being isolated. That appreciated just having someone knock at the door. And I guess that's the memory at Christmas. Especially if you're now isolated and you had a family at some point, it's the time where everything stops. The work stops. You're off work. You're sitting in the house, and we think of this time as a time when we should have our loved ones around.
Yeah.
And we don't have that one. So that loneliness and isolation is a real thing, and a real heavy thing that causes us to feel down at Christmas.
You said something about, the elderly and but nobody's going to check on a 30-something-year-old or a 25-year-old. The assumption is that they're busy, they have lots of friends, and that they're going out, and that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to check on them to see, are they okay? Should we invite them over? Nobody does that. So it's a group that we tend to kind of overlook sometimes with loneliness, and it's a very lonely age group. So yeah.
And also the men as well,
Mm,
in terms of, so wife has just had a baby, how's the husband doing?
mm,
But is that overlooked person in terms of everyone thinks they're okay because they're part of the unit and everything is okay. But actually, when a woman has a baby, it's a really hard time for a man because everyone's cooing over the baby, cooing over the wife. The wife is giving all his attention to the baby, and no one's thinking about the fact that his life has just changed as well. He's not sleeping as well, and he has to go to work,
yeah.
and all those other dynamics. So it's also looking for the. So what I'm hearing you saying is looking for the. I don't want to say the cracks, but looking for the ones that.
So nobody falls through the
that
cracks.
falls through the cracks. Yeah. Because when we talk about that, I remember many years ago, maybe 30 years ago, maybe more than that, maybe even 40 years ago, I would get phone calls and they would begin, I know you're busy, but I needed to ask you something. But the conversation would always start, I know you're busy, but can I just check whatever it might be? And I lived alone. I lived alone, and always made me smile that certain people's conversation always began with, "I know you're busy, but." There was just always that assumption that you were going to be busy, and sometimes you're well and welcome to phone call, you know, and when they finish asking you what they got to ask you, they're asking them about all sorts of other things, just so that you can have a bit of connection.
But how is there a way of identifying those who fall through the cracks?
Oh,
I think there is. I think there's spaces where we can do that in. Churches are a good place to do that. I think if we care about people, we'll be able to see people and be intentional in the things that we do so that we can capture those people who might be on the edges and will be on our own on their own. We have big WhatsApp groups these days. Their church communities, sometimes at work as well. People spend a lot of time at work. And I know it's about social responsibility as well, isn't it? And if we just sometimes think outside of our busy lives, who are the people in our world, for people who are listening, who are the people in your world who are 25, 30, 35, 40, or even older, live on their own, family's not near, and you have a support system and a family, what are some of the things that you can do to probably pull them in so that they're not alone? So if we just love people a little bit, widen that a bit,
yeah,
and think about our neighbor, think about our friend or our colleague or the person that we go to church with. Just think a little bit more outside of our own individual circumstances. We probably will be able to find those people quicker.
right.
know,
Go
Oh,
on.
so that is interesting you say that, because something that I try to be very intentional with is when I ask someone how they're doing, I ask them twice.
Yeah.
And it was like, why are you asking me twice? I said, because everyone asks you that is a question, but because I'm asking you twice, I'm sure my intention is to really find out how you're doing. And it's people always say to me, "Oh, I told you I was okay," and I said, "No, no, no. Sometimes you need to slow down, because we're all always on autopilot with that question. How you doing? I'm fine." Or in America say, "Pretty good." You know, we all have a, like, what's it they say, like, praise the Lord. No, no, what did the one they do in churches? God is good all
But
the
it's
time.
good all
the time.
God is good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So is that automatic response we
Yeah.
give to how you doing?
Mechanical.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
And really sometimes, and how you doing? Well, not fine.
Yeah.
But then also being in a place to receive what not fine means.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because funnily enough, what I was going to say is, because when Charlie asked you the question, and I was expecting answers of what would I see, how would I identify someone that is lonely or in need. But your answer actually put it back in my court to say, well, I should just be more open and willing to all those in my circle, and I will catch the guys that are lonely. If I am more open, more loving, more generous, more inclusive, then I will catch those people. Because Paul Bryant, and hi Paul Bryant, a listener's text in, and he said, we've lost, and of course, yeah, I guess people are losing the skill of intimate dialogue.
Hmm.
And I think that's part of it, especially for people of faith. That
That's a fair point.
yeah, I think that's people of faith, as people of faith. And I wonder if it's, in fact, it might be unfair for me to say people of faith. I think we have lost it, but in the sense that society has moved us away from that. Society has moved us away from just the fact of losing the skill of intimate dialogue. We are so insular. We are so insular that we would see someone say, "How you doing?" and we're not hearing the result. They're not giving us the truth. We're not prepared to hear the truth. We're just moving on. We're so insular that we might not even ask for it. We're so insular that if somebody tried to have an intimate conversation with us, we'd find it uncomfortable. You know, why did you laugh? Because
Or-
I think
people prefer to communicate via text, and everyone knows that text is
True.
linear. So and also the thing with text messaging is, I read it in my head how I receive it, depending on what's going on with me. So you may just say to me, "Oh, it's something," and because I read it with an angry brain, all of a sudden I'm like, who does he think he is? And really, and if you don't put an emoji with a laughing face, and sometimes, and that's another thing that does really irritate me, when people say something mean and then put LOL or put a smiley emoji, and you think it's still mean, no matter how many smiley faces you put.
and yes, there is that. But you know what? The other side of that is that irritates me, is that people. Can I get a lift tomorrow night home from church? LOL. Oh, did you want the lift or not? You know, it's like,
Joke.
yeah. He's like, oh, can I have lunch with you on Sabbath? LOL. Or and I think no, why the
But
LOL?
because they're trying to put a tone.
No, I think they misunderstand. I don't think they understand what the emojis actually mean. Because
Well,
if
well,
they did,
okay.
they wouldn't use them.
No. In that case, it's not an emoji. I mean, in my case, it's not an emoji. It's actually LOL.
But no, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
They don't even understand the acronyms.
Oh.
I
what-
think it's also embarrassment. Sometimes when people are embarrassed, they laugh. And so let me, can I get a lift home? It's a little bit uncomfortable, so let me say LOL. Just
and okay, and I'm feeling that now already based on our conversation. But that is why we then get to the point of the loneliness and the isolation, because we're so uncomfortable to say, "Can I get a lift? Can I have lunch with you on Sabbath?" Because we're so insular.
Mm.
And I guess society has done that, so it's unfair to say the church has done that. But the examples I gave were people from church, because society has done it, and we have picked it up,
Mm.
and we picked it up and running with it. And if we do that, then we are going to be insular. And I think Paul Bryant saying we've lost the skill of intimate dialogue is a very real thing. I think it's a very real thing. Is it because we're always worried about how other people will see us, or is it because we ourselves are uncomfortable? Or do we not want other people to see that I've asked for a lift, or I want? I don't know.
The pandemic did it.
The pandemic did it.
The pandemic did it.
Pandemic was 5 years ago, man. This was happening to me 40 years
And
ago.
now we're okay. But I think the art of communication
Yeah.
is something that we
We've lost. We're
we don't
losing.
mean, there used to be is it penmanship we used to do in
Yeah,
school?
yeah.
When people used to take pride in the way they used to write. They used to write letters to each other.
Yeah.
They used to do all of this with each other. And now the text world, you can't even spell words properly. You send broken messages to people. You send emojis to people. Who's talking to people anymore? I saw this this meme, and it says something like, "Can you remember the days when we used to have could only have 3 calls between after 6?
Yeah.
So you used to only call your friends after 6. Now
Yeah.
we have unlimited calls and no one's using it."
No, but it's true. But then, yeah. So we're talking about how we could get through the Christmas blues, and
Right.
that so that loneliness and isolation is something that started long before Christmas.
Yeah.
That loneliness and isolation has started some time ago.
it's just worse during
And
Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't get it, to be honest. I don't know what it is, because I've been at friends' house and they're going to be alone for Christmas. Okay, let's say they're going to be alone for Christmas. And you said, why don't you go to XYZ? No, I don't want to do that. Why don't you invite so-and-so and so-and-so around? No, I don't want to do that. And then on Christmas morning, they say, well, I'm by myself. I'm lonely. And I don't quite know if the chicken or the egg. Is it the church that's made us that way? Are we that way because of society?
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know where to point my finger. Let me just
Hang on,
read. I've got.
Joanna, can I just get to respond to that?
Go on then. Go on then.
Can I ask you to respond to that, or are you not prepared? To
Yeah, I
respond?
mean, I think it's different things, isn't it? That gets us to that place where the options and the solutions might not meet where we are. And I think it's really important for us to listen before we offer solutions, like, because the places that you suggest may not work because relationships may not be great. And while they might look like very good options to us, it might not look like good options to the people that we're recommending them to.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's important to ask, maybe you're going to be alone at Christmas, where would be a good place for you to be?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of these things, but what would work for you?
Mm.
Yeah, so I think having getting to know people before we make suggestions might help. And one thing we did when we were students, overseas students, and didn't have family, and what we did one year, what we did was we had breakfast at one house. Lots of us young people had breakfast at one house, then we had dinner at one house, and then we played games at another house. So lots of us were together, and the burden was on one. So it's kind of like a potluck breakfast, a potluck
Yes.
Christmas dinner, and a potluck thing in the evening that provided that kind of escape from loneliness and being on our own.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Paul, were you
those are
gonna-
my
Yeah. May I ask, Joanna? So first of all, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's really always great to have you on. May I ask if you would consider the deflection as overthinking?
Ooh.
Mm,
People
I'm
will say
hesitating.
things.
Maybe yes and no. Maybe yes and no. And overthinking in the sense that I don't want to. Overthinking is not. I know we use the word a lot these days. Like I'm an overthinker, but for me, I think people overthinking is a distortion.
Mm.
Is a negative thought pattern that is developed through experiences that we've had.
Mhm.
That's why it's there. So that's why I hesitated to say, is it overthinking? And it might be. It might be for some people. And the overthinking probably would sound like, but will they want me?
Mm. Mhm.
But will they accept me?
Yeah.
But will I be welcome? Yes, you'll be welcome. The overthinking might sound like, again, I can't believe they'd want to have me. And so maybe I think a little bit deeper about it, because there'll be things to unpack, even if it's overthinking.
Right.
And are we going to stop long enough to help the person to investigate? Why do you think they wouldn't want you?
Mm.
Why do you think you might not be welcome? Tell me, what's happening for you. So yeah.
So Mark, is that answering your question about whether you give someone a lift or not?
Well,
Or their response?
it throws me into another spin of a question, but Sophia Lindsay has made a comment, and I just want to read that out. She said, "People are worried about how they will be perceived,
Mm.
so that's probably why they don't do it."
Mm.
But I guess my question, or maybe that wasn't my original question, but the question that comes to mind now takes me back to. So, but is that because just of the people in the faith in a cocoon, or in our society as a whole? People are so worried about how they'll be perceived. Because what I do, if I extrapolate that through, I will be worried about how I'm perceived and not accept invitations and not invite anybody. But then fast forward 40 years, and I'm the guy that's sitting in my armchair on Christmas lonely. So I think that you kind of get into a spiral, into a rhythm, into a mindset. So I've got a couple of others to read here. Paul Bryant said, when you provide a service to the general public, you get to see their hidden agenda and disposition to speak truthfully. The root cause is for me to the root cause is for me a process of dissemination towards sinful mindsets and lifestyles. So let me understand what Paul's saying now. The root cause is for me a process of desensitization towards sinful mindsets and lifestyles. I'm not sure what he means there. Well, let me read Paul, Sophie, and Paul did another one. For some, it's pride to decline the idea of asking to be around others.
Mm.
You see, and that's a bad and dangerous place for us to end up. So now
It is.
I'm so proud that I don't want to ask if I can spend some time with you on Christmas Day, Paul. Paul Bryant says, I'm going to come to you, Paul. Paul Bryant says, being alone at Christmas is just the tip of the separation iceberg. That I agree. That I agree with. But give me some clarity on what you meant with that first one, Paul, when you said when you provide a service to the general public, you get to see their hidden agenda and disposition to speak truthfully. The root cause is, for me, a process of desensitization towards sinful mindsets and lifestyles. I'm not quite sure what you meant with that. And the final one, and then I'll take you, Paul. It says, Sophia Lindsay said, also something to do with our British society being somewhat reserved, pretending that all is well when inside they are dying from loneliness.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Along those lines, I wondered, Joanna, if in your experience and the people that you've come across with, especially people from faith backgrounds, or maybe our church, if you find that this sort of view of overthinking might be a deflection, as Sophia Lindsay is saying about shame and embarrassment and whatever. And the reason why I'm asking that question is that when COVID hit and lots of people were on furlough and we started food banks and things, one of the things that came up was the amount of people within our church who didn't have food. They didn't have all of the things that we were giving away to other people, but they did not feel comfortable to actually tell anyone that they didn't have it. So is that a process of overthinking, or have we boxed ourselves into a corner?
I don't know why we were surprised that some people didn't have food. I think we should have, that's something that we should have known, that there'd be people here who wouldn't have food. And so make the invitation, if you need, here is where you come to get it. Because there's this expectation that people who don't will come and ask, can I have? It's not easy to do.
No.
It's not easy to do. And I don't think, Paul, that we have made our environment safe enough for people to do that.
Right.
So it's not merely shame. I don't want to be the only family that comes to ask, because the assumption in my mind is I'm the only family that needs it, because nobody else is asking. And if you're the absolute only one in a church that is big, that is asking, then it's so glaring. I don't want to be in the spotlight.
No.
So we need to make it comfortable enough for people to feel vulnerable, because that is such a vulnerable thing. So it's not just shame. If you're the only person in a group that is vulnerable, then that is exposing, and nobody wants to be that exposed. You feel naked and alone in the spotlight. So we should have made it comfortable enough. Like in the church that I go to in Wales, right? Every week, when church is over, I literally do shopping sometimes from the food that is available.
Right.
I'm like, oh look, sourdough bread. Let me get a few. If I don't go to church, I said to my husband, can you get some sourdough bread? So it's just there and everybody now can take. Versus it's in a room at the side and you have to ask, can I get?
I see.
It probably would stay in that room and spoil because nobody would go. But it's there, it's open, it's in the front, bags are available, people take things.
Right. And they're comfortable enough to do that. I'm really pleased to hear that.
Everybody.
Really.
Me, I go for my stuff.
No, honestly, but I can say to you, and I'm sure a lot of people will bear me out on this. There's a great number of people within our churches who would never go towards anything like that, even though they're hungry, even though they are without. There's this shame element that's attached to it, this stigma of poverty and whatever. And, you know, whether we're in a desperate situation or not, and the need is great, we're not going to go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for that one element of the Christmas blues, there's a lot of work to be done from January the 1st, from December 26th, to go right back round to the next Advent, where we let's be intentional. Let's be intentional. So we understand the loneliness aspect, we understand the isolation aspect, and let's make sure that instead of me looking to see who's isolated and who's lonely, let me be the one that's more welcoming,
Yeah.
so that they don't feel the shame or the pressure of approaching me. Maybe let's do that. You had a sharp intake of breath.
I did have a sharp intake of breath because, again, I think in terms of things that we inherit, and personality traits that we inherit, that we are not even realizing that we've inherited. So my mom was a homebody, so I'll be a homebody. Or my mom didn't really, or my dad didn't really interact with others, so I don't interact with others. And because I think I'm just like my father or whatever, you know what I mean? So you don't, or sometimes the negative words which we may have heard growing up about, like, you can't do this, you won't amount to that, you won't, you know what I mean? Nobody's gonna like you, nobody's gonna want to be around you. So you tell yourself these different rhetorics. You tell yourself that these things are true. You start to believe it. You start to speak it over yourself and over your life in terms of this is, well, what did I expect? I was gonna be alone, just like my mother was alone, and my grandmother was alone, my great grandmother was alone. I'm just gonna. So you've told yourself all of this stuff, and then you come to the season. Nothing will change because you will still be stuck in that same mindset.
Yeah.
Or is that overthinking?
Well. Who's doing the overthinking then, there, Paul? The individual, because I mean, when you say is that overthinking, are you saying that me that's just done all the things that Charlie did, and now I think that way? Are you saying that am I overthinking, or are you saying is the person looking on at my
No, I'm thinking about you, the individual, overthinking that because this was how it happened to my great grandma, my grandma, and grandma, me. What is it? I'm overthinking in the sense that this is going to happen to me.
But then I would say that I think they're overthinking, but I would say that has been as a result of all of those things that have happened before, those things in childhood, so I'm only overthinking now because my worldview is limited to do that overthinking. And I think what Joanna said very early on in the conversation is that she didn't say this, but when she made her statement, it made me reflect and think, then maybe it's incumbent on me not to expect, even if they are overthinking, that I must behave in a manner that almost removes the need or removes the scope for them to overthink. I have to be that generous. I have to be that open that they're not worrying about, oh, if I ask Mark for a lift, do I have to tag LOL on it? Or if I ask Mark for something to eat, I have to tag LOL on it.
It just sounds like intelligent thinking, Mark. And you're asking someone, I'm not saying of low intelligence or anything, but you're asking someone to think outside of the box.
Well, no, the difference I see, and I see that Paul's got a message, another message. I'm going to read it out in a second, Paul. But no, the difference. What I'm saying is that so that I don't almost ask them to have to be intelligent or to undertake intelligent thinking, I behave in a manner that it's plain and obvious and clear that I can help you with your loneliness. I can help you with your isolation. And not just by me saying it, but by my behavior all year, every year,
Mm.
is one that when they think Mark Gray, they don't think, ooh, I better put LOL. Ooh, I can't ask him if I can join him for lunch. Ooh, I've behaved in a manner that it would be, I was going to say unreasonable, but in a manner where they don't have room to think that of me. All right, let me just read Paul's. Paul says, people aren't sensitive to speaking truth, reconciliation around treating others as you would expect to be treated. And it's now a self-indulgence mindset and behavior to get what's mine, consciously or unconsciously. Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking about society when I was talking about society. But if I'm thinking, okay, the society, yes, but what about what we're doing with the church? What about what we're doing? Because we're looking at the Christmas blues, and we're trying to think, how do we eradicate the Christmas blues? And the where how we got to this point is that one of the Christmas blues is loneliness and isolation, and we can't necessarily get rid of it between the 10th and the 25th of December if that's what I'm experiencing. But certainly, as a people of faith, we can become intentional so that we behave in a manner that those people that are suffering the blues because of loneliness and isolation aren't suffering it next time, because sometimes they are making themselves isolated because of what they, as I think Sophia Lindsay said, because of what they perceive might be the reaction to opening themselves up.
Joanna, question. How important do you think it is to understand what the source of it is? So the source of the loneliness, the source of the isolation, the source of what the blues. How important do you think it is?
I think it's important, it's crucial for the person that's experiencing it to understand the source of it, because there is a root, and to deal with the root of it, it's really important, because we know the research shows that loneliness is equal to smoking at least 15 cigarettes a day. So it's the same effect. So you're not smoking because you're a person of faith, but you're chronically lonely, you're on your own, you don't have people around, you don't have family, you don't have belonging, you don't have community. It has similar effects. So it's important to understand the source. And you mentioned some of it around intergenerational things. My grandmother was, my mother was, so I am going to be. And Paul kind of said, well, is that overthinking? Some of it is, but it also, they have good evidence. My grandmother was, my mother, so I am. And if you see something coming down the generation, you just automatically think that it's going to happen to me. And so the person who is listening, who that's their story, to stop and engage with that story. You know, what are the things that I can do to change that for me? And you and I, you know, seeing them at work or at church won't necessarily know their story, because they may not have shared it. But it's really important for them to engage with that, to understand it for themselves, to say, why do I mean, I was listening, I'm thinking, I would never ask, can I come to your house? I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't. I'm an introvert. There's no way I'm saying, "Oh, can I come to your house for Christmas?" I just wouldn't do it.
For Christmas, you know.
You know.
And even if I'd spent all year trying to be open and having the intimate conversations and
It's not just something we would
welcoming.
do. We would want to be invited. we wouldn't invite ourselves because it would feel so awkward.
Oh
But
dear.
how do you invite someone as well? Because sometimes how you phrase it, they think, well, that wasn't an
Mm.
invitation. Or it's like, would you like to come? Can you come? Come?
No, come. It's
I'll give you a joke. There was many years ago. There was a girl that was getting married, and she sent out all her invitations out and everything. And the Saturday before the wedding which is the Sunday, the next day, she saw another girl in church. She said, "What are you doing tomorrow? Because I got my wedding." Right? And it's like, was that an invitation?
yeah.
Was that an invitation? Oh, Paul Bryant says that he's also in Wales, Joanna.
All
Do you
right.
know Paul Bryant? I went to school with him. We went to William Penn. He was in Bessemer.
Okay. We hear this every week.
He was in Bessemer. I was in Wilson.
Wonderful. Night, lovely tale. We've overlooked a lot of comments on YouTube.
Yes,
And
yes.
can I also say good evening to Sharon? Sharon came online and said good evening to Mark, Paul, Charlie, and Joanna. This is a must. This is a must tune in episode for me because I love both After Dark and Joanna Daniel.
Oh,
So
dear.
there we
Oh,
go.
thank you,
Oh,
Sharon.
yeah. I don't think she's ever said I love Mark.
Right, Mark, you've got a wife. Let's go.
Yeah, but Joanna's got a husband.
It's a different type of love. Here we go. Let's go. Right. So
See, it's people like Charlie that makes you live in isolation and be lonely in your bubble, because now I'm gonna think about perception.
and I'm choosing not to answer you. So, good evening, Brother Mark, Sister Charlie. I've been choosing right things these days. Anyway, Brother Mark, Sister Charlie, and Joanna Daniel. And everyone uses their full name.
I
It's not
know,
just called
right?
Joanna Daniel. The senior citizens, many in care homes and in supported care, it can be difficult to visit anytime. How can we navigate the differing modern lifestyles with many lonely, not through choice, especially outside of society circles? Too much digital invasion of mobile devices, maybe. Um, Good old fashioned visiting households. For instance, when my grandparents were alive, analog people versus digital driven lifestyle does bring remoteness.
Yeah.
And that's another thing because a lot of people they do online shopping, they do online this, they do online that.
Banking,
So
everything.
there's no need to go out. There's no need to do anything else if you don't have to.
And then what happens to them in the end? They become isolated.
They become
And they don't-
isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you talk about isolation, I will get back. There was a documentary done about a young lady who passed away in her flat, and for 7 years nobody knew she had passed, and it was only because I think when they came to not repossess, but to get back the property because after all her money had run out in paying her direct debits, it then went into default. They found her sitting in the armchair in her, and then the documentary then went to find some of her friends and family. And they spoke about how she was estranged from this, she was estranged from that. And that's another thing, when you've fallen out with people and then you leave yourself in a state of isolation at times.
Yeah.
And then I remember there was her ex-boyfriend was talking about how she was the life and soul of the party. And people then were questioning themselves in terms of, how did I not even miss her?
Yeah.
Or miss her presence for all that time? And they were getting emotional by it.
Yeah. Yeah, because they just assumed that she must be all right. And that's just not a right. And I'm going to read Paul Bryant's comment. Charlie, oh please.
I don't know what that means. But
I know
anyway,
exactly what it
Let
means.
me go back to let's go back to Yvonne's text. She says, I text my son even though he's in the room next door, in the next room, rather than shout his name. And then she's laughing out loud. Not lots of love. Trending talk. And that's Yvonne. Then Monique says, good evening everyone. Society has lost the art of verbal face-to-face communication. I agree.
Yeah.
COVID sped this up. I agree again. But rather than us standing out, this lack of communication has filtered into church.
Yeah.
Then someone else, I'm not sure who that is, C2, I'll call you C2, says Home Alone is a film that is repeated all year round. And then Monique continues to say, old school house to house. That's the Christmas setting I grew up with.
Yeah.
Spending time with different family members help with the practical and financial implication. C2 says the more we grow larger as a population, the lonelier we become. Loneliness is becoming a pandemic. If one then continues to say, I do a telephone ministry for a few lovely senior citizens that can call me anytime for a little informal chat. Sometimes a little thing like this can make a difference in a fast-paced urban home. That's good. That's true. And she says, is overthinking or is it old-fashioned pride or hidden historic trauma, which is not diagnosed or just emotionally hidden? Yep. And then Monique claps that, and then Sharon says, Mark, you're like a big brother. I love you. Is that an assumption we make too often that feeds into loneliness? You know I love you.
Yes, but say it.
She just did.
Well,
And
no,
she
because
said
she
it-
said she
and
said
she-
it about
and she-
Joanna
guess what?
first.
She
Is
said
it
it
definitely
twice.
big feet?
Huh? Yeah. You see, I think Mark needs some trauma and
Oh
therapy.
dear.
Anyway, and then she said, "Thank you, Era. This is such a great debate, and and
Okay.
it is a great debate because I think we don't stop and ponder about it
Yeah, and
as much as we really should
yeah.
because so many people we pass the season and everyone then goes and
goes back.
and pretend, yeah, we had a good Christmas, and you don't realize that they sat in their house by themselves. They didn't even. I mean, they had a microwave meal because who wants to cook for one person? You know, how many times do we sit down and write a list of the people that have lost a loved one this year, people who maybe single, people who no, just write a list and then think, right, out of this list, can I reach out to any of them? And it doesn't need to be any big expensive gesture either.
Yeah.
It could literally be a card. It could be
A note.
a note,
Yeah.
a flower. It could be, you know what I mean? It could be, nowadays with AI, you can write together some sort of thing, print it out on a piece of paper, make it look pretty. And, you know what I mean? I think it's just, as they say, the thought that counts.
Intentional.
It's just the
Yeah.
intent behind it. People to know that, wow, someone is thinking about me. Someone in their day stopped and printed off a piece of paper and put it through my door. That tells me that they thought of me. Because how many people don't believe they're thought of?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. But you mentioned in the middle of that about how many people may have lost someone that year, and that's actually one of the headings that I've got here: grief and loss. Because that's another thing that can cause the blues at Christmas time. Grief and loss, missing loved ones that have gone either through that year or, you know, maybe even past years, but the empty chair at Christmas, you know, the meal that person's no longer there.
Joanna, can I touch base with you on the after effects of COVID? Because, as you know, so many communities were decimated by it. It was something that I touched base with on someone recently. There were a lot of people that we know whose loved ones contracted COVID, and they had to remember them as they were before they went into hospital or into care, because they never got to see those loved ones again. And it is a big thing that we haven't really spent any time approaching and seeing how we are. Because once people start talking about these things, they start getting really emotional because they've not had any closure or anything like that. Now, I would never consider that to be overthinking, but it's a huge factor when it comes around to this time of year.
Yeah, because it was so strange, wasn't it? It was different. The rituals that we have around grief and loss, we couldn't do them. You know, we were on our own doing Zoom funerals and things like that.
Yeah.
As you said, Paul, people went into hospital and that was it. You weren't allowed to visit. You had to do a video call. And
Mhm.
we do a bereavement group. We meet every other Friday, and I'm hearing stories like that in the bereavement group where people are processing those losses that happen around COVID time and talking about those experiences
Mhm.
that are heartbreaking, heartbreaking to hear. So it's providing the space for people to do that, to have those conversations in, to say the things that they never got to say, and a space where people can understand the need for that.
Mhm.
And so we're not rushing people on. Like COVID was 5 years ago,
Mhm.
and so we should be okay. People are still not okay.
Of
And
course they're not.
yeah, and grief is there's no time limit on it.
Mm.
And we don't get to dictate the process and things like that. So providing the space, and especially around this time, it can be harder. Losses like that can be hard around Christmas time
Mhm.
when you're remembering your loved one, and
Yes.
when you're alone. And I think if people get the opportunity to grieve, it might make it easier versus if there's no opportunity to do the work.
Mhm. Mm.
Might make it harder. So now you're sitting on your own with all of those feelings that you don't know what to do with.
Yeah. Can I share something with you?
Or
There was a Christmas that I spent on my own, a Christmas day. And I've got to tell you, it's the worst day of my entire life.
Dear.
The worst day of my life. I did not want to be alive that day. I knew that family members and everyone was just out enjoying themselves, and I was forgotten. And it was the worst day of my life. And the trauma that surrounds things like that, and as we're talking about, especially for this time of year, should never be understated. And I think it's something that we do have to look around, even in our congregations, in our family circles, in our circles of friends. What are you doing on Christmas Day? Or what are you doing around Christmas or whatever? Just reach out, because it's just soul destroying.
it is.
Then
Were you
let me.
ill? Were you ill, Paul? Is that
No.
why you were alone?
I wasn't ill.
You weren't ill.
No.
So then I have to ask, and I have to try and be delicate, because my wife always tells me that I need to go on a course, but I'll just try and be delicate, because to me it's coming back to what Joanna said earlier, about, but Mark, I would never ask you to come to your house. You must ask me. But if I knew that Paul was going to be on his own on Christmas Day, on his own, and wanted to be with someone, or would welcome the opportunity to be with someone, most definitely I would ask him. And I think that there would be 24 people in front of me in the queue to ask him.
Mhm.
But so sometimes I say sometimes we have. I won't say sometimes we have to, but I will say that's why I'm surprised that when you said, Jonah, I would never ask you if I could come, because if you don't, how would I know that you would welcome
Mm.
coming? Remember, I'm not talking about strangers on the street. I'm saying either close friends, or at least people that I know from church, or people that I have some relationship with, who could come to my house. I mean, that's heartbreaking to know that someone is going to be alone at Christmas that
Mm.
and you're just going to say, okay, well, I'll drop off a mince pie for you. I mean,
Mm.
But I
sometimes
think
you don't know.
everybody may make the assumption that somebody's doing it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's the problem. So don't make the assumption that somebody's doing it. Like what are the things that would have made Paul be alone on his own, at Christmas? Somebody who have a lot of people assuming in his life, that nobody knew, but everybody assumed somebody else was going to do it. And so just don't assume that somebody's going to do it. If you know some of the circumstances, go, Joanna is alone, her family's not there, I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
So let Paul say, no, I'm good. I'm going to Shelley's
So-and-so.
house, you know?
Yeah.
Or do we just
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
do we
Yeah.
just ask or we just always asking the question? Because I think when the first thing that came to my mind is that word assumption. We all make assumptions about people. So I have two sisters, so people make the assumption that she will go. You know what I mean? So they or I have
I didn't know you had any sisters.
I have two and a brother. Anyway, not about me. But it's people make
Yeah.
sorry, anyway. So people we make assumptions all the time about things, situations, you know. So I assumed you had a husband. Oh, because whatever, you know what I mean. So people make all these assumptions, and I think maybe sometimes we need to then just do that open that just that open, like we have an open table, so if anyone's around or anybody would like to, but then I think sometimes people don't like wide open invitations. So like if I came into a room, no, but I
No, I'm
think
listening.
if I came into this room and I said, like, guys, if any of you want to come and join me this evening, I'm going out for dinner, you'd be like, but is she inviting me or is she inviting everybody?
Yeah, right.
It's like I have to say, Joanna, are you available? Mom, are you available? You know, because then it's like some people don't like the whole blanket open table, because then you turn up, did you really? And then you see you look at them and they look at you like, but was it an open? I thought it was an open invitation. And so
Now that's overthinking.
no. It's you know what? And I have to put my hand up and say, yeah. Give me an hour and a half. I am an overthinker. Yeah, that's what I sit and I wouldn't call it overthinking. I'm a processor. I process.
No, Paul called it overthinking.
No, I'm a processor. I process. So because I process things, I would then do the whole thing and be like, cha. And then you end up, you come to your conclusion and then say, cha. But
And then the evening dawned and you say, all right, let me go. Oh, but we finished.
however, I think it's sometimes it feels like it's tricky because when we're dealing with people's emotions, you have to be sensitive with it because and it's finding and there's never no formula, but I think that's when we lean into the Holy Spirit. So like, Holy Spirit, please show me someone or impress upon my heart someone that needs XYZ, or ask a question or make the consideration or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But if not, how else will we be led in the right directions?
Yeah. I think you're. I think you're right, but I think you're over processing.
Stop. Okay, I've got a few more comments.
And I've got one here, but go on.
It says, yeah, I've read that one. But Charlie, would you think deeply if Mark gave you a flower or two?
Charlie told me on a previous show she don't want no flowers from me.
So then I responded and said,
That's what she told me.
Mark only wants to give me Sharon fruit, which I decline.
You see? Charlie, we were on a show and Charlie talked how she loved Sharon fruit and Sharon fruit. Oh, if you love me, don't give me this, give me Sharon fruit. The following week I brought Sharon fruit. She said, I don't want it. Give Sharon fruit to your wife. You see? You're trying to do a good thing.
Wife, I've got your back. Right, Sharon, Paul, this is Paul, that is trauma like we have never known. And I think that was to the comment that the question you asked about COVID.
Oh,
no.
when he was...
No. When he made the about people dying through COVID, she said that's trauma like we've never known, and I agree. And then we have someone called Justin from Kenya, an Adventist by heart and a big follower of Christ. Love you all. Thank you, Justin, for tuning in. And then MH says, I appreciate this conversation. Thanks. Thank you for listening, MH. I hope you're well. Sharon says, perhaps those who can should put out an open invitation and cook a big meal or ask individuals to bring a dish or a drink and come. And then Monique says, I understand that what Joanna means. about not asking. It's about everyone considering one another. We need to have the emotional intelligence to read the room, look at the individual circumstances.
Mm.
All right.
However,
Oh, God.
sorry, can
I was just about to agree with you and you
no, no,
took
no,
it back.
no,
Go
no,
on.
no, no. I agree with what Monica said, but I know Charlie as an individual is very hard to read.
Yeah.
So I know that you will look at me and you will think I'm good. And you would think I'm okay, and you would think I'm top of the world, and it could be my lowest day. And I won't necessarily give you the impression that, oh, do I need to check on you? Or you may not get that from me. And that's because that's the person that I am. So it's difficult sometimes when you're dealing with people who don't necessarily wear their circumstances on their sleeve to know where to jump in.
Okay.
But there,
Joanne?
sorry, there's some things that might make that easier. So, for example, the single mom, the person who doesn't have family around, the recently divorced, the recently widowed, you know, the overseas student or the person who works here and their families in that. So there's some people that you don't have to wonder about. You can know that there's these people that we might need to look out for. Or even my husband and I, we were on our own for many years. We didn't have family here. My husband had family in Birmingham and things like that, but because they're not Christians and things like that. So we were on our own in Yorkshire. Our church though have things, so we didn't really have to be on our own. But so people like us, as a family, you might assume that, oh, Glenn and Joanna and the children are okay, but we were on our own. So there are things like that you don't have to wonder. You have people like that in your community, in your congregation. They're those people that you give an invitation, especially if you have an extended family and you do not, because some people have extended families and are lonely, that's for sure. But
Yes.
some
Yes.
people have extended families that you don't have to think about being on your own because you have an option of going or not going. Some people have no option.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to catch up with a couple of comments here. Paul Bryant says, as individuals, just make a thermos of hot decaf tea. He has to put the decaf in. The hot decaf tea and cupcakes, muffins and chocolates, and go out in faith with the expectation to find souls, reminding them that God loves them in spite of how others have been treating them. So that's almost like the
That's
food
a
banking.
great approach.
Yeah, food bank type. What's that
Yeah.
called? Food bank and the other thing they do, feeding the homeless and all of
Feeding.
that.
Yeah.
Just because as a little bit of a segue, with all this crisis in Jamaica, people have just been filling up their car with food and bits and provisions and just driving down the street and handing it to people, and they go and they load up their car again and just drive and hand out. So yeah, that is something we could. There is a point that I'm still struggling with, but I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to read the other messages. Paul says, so yeah, do that in spite of how others have treated you, which was just finishing off his previous comment. Then he says, we have become too dependent on others for self-esteem and association to that self-security. Just contemplate the last few days of Christ before his brutal crucifixion. I think that if we contemplate that, is the serving others. That would be the serving others, I think. I'm still struggling a little bit with. Okay, so there's the we can't read Charlie and we don't know, but I think what Joanna said was a good point, that it's not going to be any skin off my back. It's not going to be any shame for me to invite Paul and have him say, no, I'm going to be with my sisters. Do you see what I mean? It's not a big loss to me. Oh no, I invited Paul and he said he's going to his sister. Oh, but he might see it that if he asks me and I say, oh, my table only holds 6 and I've got 6 already, So maybe next year, pal, it might be a bigger. So I think I like that, and I like Paul Bryant's suggestion. I like the idea of being intentional. Somebody said in church, nothing to do with this topic, but somebody said in church, just think if all of us in here now made it our duty to bring one next year, we wouldn't be able to fit them in this church. And I thought, oh, I've never really thought about it that way. If we all just target, oh well, look, the end of the year is coming. January the 1st, we target, bam. This year I'm gonna bring one soul, just one. And everybody does that. We fit them in. So I think we've got to be intentional about this. We've got to look at the whichever the situation is, whoever might be lonely, whoever might be alone, whoever might be, and just say, are you all right, bro?
Mm.
Are you all right? Because it's so many times we would find people that we might think would be all right and they're not.
I've
I'm
got
gonna.
some,
Go on,
I've
go
got
on.
some more comments that have come in.
And then I'm going to talk
Um,
about frustration and anger, which is right up my street.
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry, we've got Joanna here who will support you through that. I said about everyone else. Okay, I don't think okay. A piece of conversation. We read that
You're
one.
too quick. I can't
Right.
hear you. But I'm going to
Sorry.
start.
I hear you, but sometimes we can be extremely busy trying to do 100 things
Yeah.
to read the room. So I understand what Joanna means about not asking.
Yeah.
It is about everyone considering one another. We need
Yeah.
to have the emotional intelligence to read the room. And then the comment is, I hear you, but sometimes we can be extremely busy trying to do 100 things to read the room. And then someone, MH says, I like the idea of an open invitation, especially for single people.
Yeah.
Monique says, I hear you, Sister Sharon. And then Mark Blackbird, hi Mark.
Hey.
My wife and I used to invite a young man from a church who lived alone and we knew would be alone for Christmas. He loved spending the whole day with us, and it made him feel very loved. Monique said, yes, exactly, regarding the example. Joanna is explaining, the example Joanna is explaining, meeting people at the point of their needs. Really, our churches should be open on Christmas and New Year's and advertise in the local communities. Ooh.
All right, that they can come.
So
Yeah.
that people can come.
Yeah.
We do that with the shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sis, I know it wasn't deliberate. Okay. And then Monique says, in inviting oneself, leave space for rejection. In asking stroke offering shows intention, consideration, demonstrating one of Christ's 2 main commandments, love others as yourself.
Yeah. No, I do get that. I mean, I'm following it. I get it. I'm just saying, but if we build the relationship and show yourself to be intentional, so you do all of those things, welcoming, intentional, then I Mark would like to think that I would eventually get to the place where Joanna doesn't feel I would never ask him after I've been intentional and friendly. And what was Paul's expression? I forget how he termed it. The intimate dialogue. We've got that connection. I would love to feel that after.
But we don't have that kind of society.
Oh.
It's such a different place that we live in.
Yeah.
To say, I'm coming by you, I'm coming around to yours on Christmas Day. I'm coming by you at Christmas. It's not that kind of society we have, though, is it?
Where you going?
Paul says we can go in. Oh dear! Go on then. And then I'm going to go frustration.
A lady shared this with me.
Yeah.
She said, so she is an individual who loves to entertain. So she says, I entertain all the time. I invite people to my house all the time, but she says no one ever invites me to their house. So everyone is happy to come.
Wow.
And to sit in my house and I go and I do, and normally when they come I do all the cooking, I do all the entertaining and everything else. But she's like, every now and then, I would like to invite people to say to me, "No, no, 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 you don't cook. You just come as you are, two hands." Because she said sometimes people come, and she doesn't mind if they come with two hands swinging or if they bring something. And I said, "Have you ever wondered why?" And she said to me that some people have said, "Oh, because my house is too small," and so they say they make a comparison. So they see your house and they say, "Oh, I can't invite you to my house because my house is small," or whatever else it is. But she said, "I also want to be fed as well, and as much as I'm giving to others, so I would love it to happen, and I'm not giving to receive it back, but it's just it's nice sometimes not being the
Nice to receive.
so then she found herself in a position where she actually started cutting back on how she was inviting
Right,
others
right.
because then she started to, when you start to feel taken advantage of and you start to feel so then she was isolating herself because
Yeah.
actually she was feeling like everybody was drawing from her well and nobody was leaving any.
Yeah. So I only see one solution. I really just see the solution of being open and welcoming. That's the grassroots, I think. That's the grassroots, and that's the only way that the situation may eventually change in the future. By developing that relationship and not setting out to develop the relationship, but developing that relationship and developing that connection that you feel comfortable enough today, then Mark, invite me, no man. You invite me 1 year or whatever. Just something. Okay, and of course we're really started off by talking about the person that wasn't your friend. Yes, I get that. So I guess that would really be your buddy would say that to you. But we've got to start off by finding the people that maybe possibly be lonely and isolated and being intentional and letting them know I like the open house. I like the is it because we're all just so broke that we can't do that? Is it that we're just crushed to think that we're gonna invite 25 people to our house and cook for them? I don't know. I don't know. I think we've become quite selfish in a way.
I would love to have this version of the conversation, but I'm minded to that we move away from because I think
Move away from loneliness.
yeah, because I think there's an etiquette in there's an etiquette conversation which we could have, which may come across quite jovial, but it's quite a serious conversation in terms of the etiquette of being with others. But I think if we get down that trap, we may move away from those who are genuinely lonely, genuinely isolated, genuinely have traumatized experiences which are impacting them in this season, those who financially can't afford to, you know what I mean? So maybe they can't. Someone said, "Come to my house, but bring the macaroni."
No,
And
no,
actually, no.
yeah,
So if someone says, "Come to your house, but bring the macaroni," and I know for me to make a macaroni is going to cost me £20 to buy the cheese, to buy the this, to buy the that, you know what I mean, to make it nice, and I don't have the £25. So actually, I would rather not decline to go or put myself into a position where I'm home alone or whatever it means, because actually that £25 commitment might be the thing is either I make the mac and cheese and
Yeah.
then come home and sit in a cold house, or I don't make the mac and cheese and stay in a warm house but by myself. Sorry.
Yes, but no, yeah. I mean, I'm not even putting the invitation of come and bring the macaroni and cheese in the same category, because you're giving and taking at the same time. No, I'm talking about just being the one that offers to just have the person who is lonely and isolated away from their house on their own with you without giving them any any rules or
Mm.
boundaries or constraints. Just come. But I want to talk about frustration and anger.
I think Joanna was
Oh,
going to say
sorry,
something.
Joanna.
No, Kevin. You kind of we've moved it. It's all right.
No, anything you need to say, you say. No, I want to talk about frustration and anger of unresolved family dynamics. Forcing on a happy face can lead to conflict. So we're talking about frustration and anger. We're talking about the blues. We're talking about the we try to then we have the blues. We don't want to be around family because of frustration and anger. The unresolved family dynamic. So we could be inviting half the church and they think, I can't sit in a room with Mark all day. You know, so
I feel that one.
you feel that one.
Yeah, I feel that one.
Stunned into silence.
Stunned into silence, man. Look at her grinning like.
Just like that.
So yeah, because then that's also a very real thing why some people
Yeah.
do not go because they have this frustration and anger which is causing the blues because of unresolved family dynamics. Can you, after you've been invited somewhere, can you then try and resolve the family dynamic, or is it just way too late?
Do it before.
Before you go, yes. But if you invite me, I can't then try to resolve the family dynamic, can I, Joanna?
No, I mean, doing it before is ideal. So are you saying, is it family as in kin, blood relation, or family as in church family?
I was thinking blood relation when I
Mm,
said it, but it could also be church family because the point I was making was that I have an invitation, but I think I can't go because I have unresolved dynamics, and that could be with my brother and sister, or it could be with my brother and sister.
yeah, and
So
it
it could be
depends on what.
either, really.
Yeah, it depends on what those unresolved issues are, isn't it? Like, what does something happen every year when we get together? I mean,
Or every
those
time. Yeah,
unresolved
yeah,
things, am I
yeah.
harmed in that dynamic? You know, if I go, am I going to am I ending up being harmed, verbally, physically?
Yeah, yeah,
Am I, so not going might be a way of protecting myself from harm because we're not going to resolve it across the dinner table at Christmas. It's more likely sometimes those things become worse those times. So try and resolve it before, but sometimes we put the onus on the person who is hurt to resolve it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they can't do anything about it. You know, we don't sometimes require the perpetrator of the harm to do something about it. It's the person who is hurting and is angry because of the unresolved issues that we're saying, oh, go sort it out.
Yeah.
So it might be best not to go if it's not sorted.
So what we should do is now be intentional that for 2026 we resolve all of these issues.
As
We're
much
not
as
going to
we
resolve
can.
it. Because we're not going to resolve it. Actually, and there might be some issues that we can resolve in the next 2 weeks, depending on what the issue is. Some issues just need someone to give a call and say, "Hey, man, thinking of you.
Mm.
End of the year, thinking of you. Would it be
I'm
nice if we got
sorry.
together? I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Some issues, Charlie. I'm not saying everything.
No. You know the thing is that I think the thing that rubbed me wrong with what you said was it's the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think it's like someone calling you and say, if you're doing it, do it because you want to do it. Don't do it because it's the end of the year.
No, I'm saying it's the end of the year, so we've got a year to resolve it before next year.
Oh,
I'm not saying
okay.
call the person and
I
say,
thought you said call me up and say, well, it's the end of the year and I don't want to go into a new year with this conflict, so let's squash it.
No. I was saying,
Bun you.
I was saying, no, we probably won't have time to resolve it now. So let's do it for next year. But then I did say after that, but certain conflict, depending on what the conflict is, it could just need somebody to realize that I'm human enough just to say, hey, can we go for a cup of coffee?
See, I don't like conflict, so I'm a person that I don't like conflict, and I know and I understand that everyone has different styles in conflict.
Yeah.
So some people need time to some they don't want to talk about it now. Give them 5 years and they're happy to talk about it.
No, that's
Some
fair enough.
people need they need to go for. But I'm a person. Let's even if it's a couple of days, no more than a couple of days. Let's just get it. Let's just deal with it, because the longer you drag it, what happens is all you remember is the way you feel, and you forget what
What
the
caused
causes
the
of what
problem, yeah.
happened, and you hold on to the feeling.
Yeah.
So I think so I think for me it's if it's I can't think of any conflict that I can't sit at a table with someone and eat, because in my heart I can't feel that but then someone else may feel something, but I can't feel it. I'm not feeling something, because for me I've given it up. So I think that's why I think if someone comes to say to me they're only doing it because of something, I would say
Yeah,
no.
no,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? And I know we went past that one, but
Yeah.
for me, I guess I'm just it's not something I let it go. I let it go. Can I just read a few comments here?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
says, go on, Mark. Invite Charlie, Paul, or Joanna live on air. That was from Sharon. Oh, silence. Wow, Mark. Okay. Monique says,
Because they did say all three of you, didn't they?
no, oh, she said, oh.
Oh, Joanna, Paul.
We're-
Short straw. Monique says, I agree with Mark. Ooh, that's the first. Regarding building relationships. After a certain stage, it should be natural to invite stroke accept.
Yeah.
And then Yvonne says, turn over Christmas dinner table, conflict resolution.
No. You see, this is it. Where it's far too aggressive, man.
But what about Granny? Unfiltered Granny. Yeah? That's so I'm not going to Christmas family dinner because of unfiltered Granny. Because as I walk through the door, Granny be like, Lord, you're fat. It's the first thing that she says. Then, and you're still not married? Where your husband? And da 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 da. And then the rhetoric, oh, you cut your hair, boy, what wrong with you? Da 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 da. And it's and cause Granny does it in a jovial way, everyone starts laughing, everyone starts saying you're feeling ashamed of yourself because actually, you know what I mean? You struggled to find an outfit that you knew that wasn't gonna make you look as
Voluptuous.
as you are, and you know, so you've gone through all of this, but you're
Never
there.
heard it called that before.
However,
A nicer word.
You're wearing a generous amount of cloth.
Oh dear.
and it's stretchy. Anyway, and because I think it's if I can use the word easier to resolve issues with someone who is self-aware, who is present, who's able to be in tune with those innermost feelings, or I can see things from your perspective in terms of how you
but you're talking about Granny.
But Granny don't see that. Granny says, if I see it and I say it and you live with it,
Yeah, but hold
and
on.
then we praise the Lord.
Let me- okay, Jonah, I have to ask you this question. When she's saying this now, so tell me if I'm missing a trick here. With that, if I haven't, so that's a very real emotion that's going on with Granny. But if I don't have, which is the next thing on my list, a sense of guilt and inadequacy, would Granny's comments bother me? That's because what I'm saying is that yes, I understand that the others are laughing and you'd want to give them a slap, but if it is it your guilt and inadequacy that is it one's guilt and inadequacy? Can you see her face? Not yours. Once.
No.
Once. If it's no, wait. Before you slap me down, is it one's guilt and inadequacy that makes us so uncomfortable and upset with Granny? Because we know Granny, we understand Granny. So is it that I'm already feeling less than why Granny bothers me? Charlie's not in playing anymore. Joanna, Charlie's not.
I mean, I wouldn't use maybe inadequacy. And also, if Granny is like that and does that all the time, then it comes to the point where however much we build up our sense of self, the words might still grate and have an impact.
Yeah.
Might still have an impact on you. So sometimes what we call grannies just like that, granny probably is verbally harmful, and the family participate in that harm.
Mm.
So it's not necessarily because I'm thin-skinned or anything like that why it affects me. It affects me because it's hurtful. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's meant to hurt, So that's why it's affects. So I'd say to somebody like that, set some time limits on how long you're going to stay. I was saying that in my community this week, like if you know that staying in the house is going to be harmful, don't stay. Stay in a hotel.
Yeah.
And so when granny starts, you can exit.
Yeah.
If you say I'm going for 1 hour and I'm going to take my dinner, I'm going to leave. So that when granny starts, before Auntie Susan join in, I'll be gone by then because this is how much I'm giving myself. This is how much of it I can take. Because it doesn't mean because it's granny that we have to take the verbal, the
Yes,
insults.
yes, because it could well just be an insult. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I see that. But what do you say about the okay. So even if I'm suffering from feelings of feeling less than, even if I am suffering from that, are you saying that there's not much work that I need to do for myself and on myself? Because
Oh,
remember,
absolutely.
because remember, we're coming back to the blues. We're feeling bad because of that feeling of the feeling of low self-esteem. So what would I or should I also be required to address those feelings of inadequacy?
Absolutely. And inadequacy comes sometimes because of comparison. You're
Hmm.
not married yet, and granny would say, or they would say, oh, so and so has, and this is what they have done, and you're not doing. So
Yeah.
definitely you go and sort that out. You find a space, again, therapy, where you can go work through those feelings of inadequacy so that you can build up your internal world. So even if the thing that they say impact, it's not going to be because you agree with what they're saying because you've worked on yourself, so you're no longer in alignment with what they say because you know yourself to be different now. But people take a while to catch up, so of course you need to do that work for yourself.
Okay. Okay.
Agree.
So what were you bopping and nodding about? You
Can I not agree with wisdom?
yeah, you can, but I was just asking, what was it that you were bopping and nodding with?
Because I'm blessed in my apparel.
Okay. All right. Um, so I've got here financial strain, which maybe we should have opened with. I've got financial strain. I do recall visiting some family members many years ago when I was young, and in Canada, and they were telling me about the culture in Canada that a lot of people actually go to get a bank loan for Christmas presents.
Wow.
And not like, oh, I know a guy that. It's no, that's what a lot of people do. So you go down to the bank and you borrow your thousands, however many thousands it is, just to buy Christmas presents. And then the people that literally, who I guess their bank manager isn't giving them a loan, they feel the financial strain, so they feel their Christmas blues. Now that one, I would like to of clearly is, I don't want to be a heart patient cursing the kidney patient, but clearly that one for me is the easier one to solve, because the time of Christmas and why it's stressful should surely be about spending time together, not about doing the things that you cannot do. And putting yourself in an environment and with people that understand that and appreciate you. So let's not even worry too much about financial strain, financial burdens, what we need to spend money on.
But I think you saying it is easier. It's easy to say it if you're not feeling the pressure of it. So, because it may not necessarily be you, because you may think, yeah, I'm ready to check out a Christmas already.
Yeah.
But you may have a spouse that says, I need this handbag. Or you may have children who you don't want to go to school and feel like, what did you get for Christmas? Underwear and socks? You want to be able to them to say, no, I got a new bike. And so the pressure you may feel may not necessarily come from you per se as a person, that
Okay.
I feel the stress of because I want to spend the money. The pressure could be from the environment that you're sitting in, the room that you're sitting in, or the fact that you go to Christmas dinner and everybody does a Secret Santa thing, but you know everyone is spending like £100 on a present, and you have 5 kids and all. So again, the pressure may not necessarily be your pressure, but you may feel pressured into.
Right. Okay, so resolution. Resolution has got to be that all of us as individuals, and it will take a while to turn this battleship, but all of us as individuals have got to be intentional in creating the right environment. You mentioned that my same siblings that were in Canada, who don't take out a bank loan to buy Christmas presents, by the way. But I remember once they had a big family, all the family was going to one of the houses, and they did do the Secret Santa, and they said, and the gift must be $10 or less. So there are ways to not put pressure on, and yeah, that's just something that they said, and I think they actually set the price by committee. So so what about our coping strategies?
Can I just read
I've got
a few comments?
Oh yeah, go on.
It says, Sharon says, you're expecting Granny to have some tack. Dawn says, Charlie looking good. Thank you, Dawn.
Oh, Dawn,
Dawn said,
I want one of those.
thank you for the shout out. And
I want
Dawn
one
said,
of those.
someone needs to talk to Granny in love. But I guess the point I was trying to make is sometimes, no matter how many people have talked to Granny
Yeah.
and said to Granny that actually she's offended, and they said Granny says she's too soft, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So sometimes those generations,
What is the truth?
They double down.
there's no having a conversation to them, saying to them that it's gonna be better. That's why I loved your suggestion, Joanna, in terms of, so cause they're not gonna change, or they're not going to do anything different. You then need to say to yourself, right, I'll go for an hour. Dinner normally starts at about 3, so if I get there at 3:30, I can go and get a plate, kiki, and at least that way get my plate, come out the door. So either I don't see Granny, or if I see Granny, I minimize the amount of time I'm in the room with her, and she will hurt my feelings. I'm prepared that she's going to hurt my feelings. So either have something to say back in and say like, oh, my Granny is your jeans, or, and maybe people may think that's disrespectful. However, but saying something to banter it back to her, especially if you're a person who normally takes it. So say something to banter it back in a way that you may find it presentable, but have an exit strategy. And that's what I loved about what Joanna had suggested.
Yeah. So I've got coping strategies. I've got acknowledge your feelings. Acknowledge your feelings. So if you're, what are you looking at me like that for?
Go on then.
I acknowledge my feelings. I acknowledge my feelings. I'm not even saying anything more on that. Set boundaries. So that's like our time. Although if dinner was at 3 and you came at 3:30, I wouldn't give you a plate. You got to do some of your community time. Get there at 2 or 2:30, the latest. Be
That
part
means
of
you
it.
didn't listen to what Joanna said because of the
I
reason why
heard-
she didn't want
I
to do
heard
community services because she's looking after
Yeah,
herself as she
I
attends.
heard that.
All right, listen. We've just got a couple of minutes left. I just wondered, Joanna, on your consideration for these overthinking things that are obviously going to put us in some difficulties. Are there any sort of hints and tips you could? We literally just got a few minutes left, so
What about
what you-
prioritizing self-care? Go on, Joanne.
Mark was reading out some of them, boundaries for sure. And self-care, like where am I going to spend the time? If you are lonely, one of the things I usually suggest is volunteering. If nobody has invited you, there's always a shelter, a homeless shelter or somewhere. Serving might be a good way to help this time of year. Understanding your triggers, because the triggers can be around so many things around this time of year, and look after yourself. What is it that you need that is going to help you to look after your feelings at this time? How are you going to manage memories? Have a plan for how you're going to manage memories and how you're going to spend the time and the things that you're going to do to deal with the stress that is going to come around this time of year for you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so those are more or less the things that I had here. Connecting with others, prioritizing self-care, set boundaries, know what your strategy is going in. And I'd say for us, and why am I saying us as though none of us are in the lonely category or the Christmas blues category, but surely a strategy that we must have is to make sure that we are all inclusive. That we are all inclusive. We do what we can. We are aware of this. So we do what we can to include others and to do the best for ourselves, even if we're going to go and spend the time with Granny.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Charlie?
I agree.
Charlie she's not happy with my Granny story. but it's all right. Granny can't help it. So we've got to live with Granny. Joanna, I think that, as Paul said, our time is up. So I just have to thank you for coming on. Thank you very much.
Thank
Always a
you.
pleasure to talk to you about these things. And we can hopefully talk to you again in 2026.
Look forward to it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great
So much.
season, Joanne.
Are you struggling to cope with life?
Yes.
Conflict, bereavement, fear, relationship, anger, depression, negative thoughts, trauma, and uncertainty can all cause emotional imbalance. Don't struggle alone. CCS, your trusted confidential counselling service, is here for you. Call our listening line on 03301 332 945. Our office line for appointments on 020 7723 8050, or visit our website www.ccscounselling.org.uk. Our counsellors speak various languages. CCS, a shoulder to lean on. We are here to listen.